Welcome to General Biology. Today's presentation is going to be on environmental factors that can influence our traits. So there's a lot of environmental factors that can have an effect on our traits. The nutrition that somebody has when they're growing can impact their final size. A lot of organisms are impacted by day length, and so they will change their characteristics based on day length, especially in places where there's winter and summer. This is an example of day length. So this is an Arctic fox in the summertime, and his coat blends in really nice with grass, the dry grass. And so he's pretty well camouflaged as he goes around stealing eggs from migrating birds. And in the wintertime, his coat changes color and gets much thicker, and he's now camouflaged to the snow. Arctic foxes spend a lot of time following around polar bears and eating scraps from the polar bear kills in the winter. This is a snowshoe hare in the summer, much more camouflaged to dead leaves and such. In the winter, they completely change color, so they're a little more difficult for lynx and other predators to see. This is an Arctic quail. She's pretty well camouflaged in the summertime with her brown coloration, and in the winter, she changes color to be camouflaged with the snow. So these are all based on day length. So as the days start getting shorter, the pigments in their feathers or hair start to change, and their coats and thickness of their feathers start to change so they can survive better in the cold temperatures. An example that we see that's pretty amazing, I think it's amazing, in humans is in Korea. In 1960, North Korea and South Korea were the same country. And there was really no difference between North Koreans and South Koreans. The gene pool was all one big gene pool, and they all had similar characteristics. And then the Korean War took place, and Korea has been separated for the last 50 years. And in that time, we see a significant difference between North Koreans and South Koreans. So South Korea is a democratic country like the United States, and it's very affluent. And they make all kinds of cars, your Kias and your Hyundais and your Samsung phones, and they make a lot of products. They make tons of computer chips there. Nokia is there. So there's lots and lots going on in South Korea. North Korea is a dictatorship and a communist dictatorship, and it's been in really rough economic shape for a long, long time. And because of that, there's not much food. So a lot of the people there are malnourished. And it's the complete opposite in South Korea. Everybody has plenty to eat. And there was a study done in 2012, and they measured the average height of a 20-year-old male in North Korea versus South Korea. And South Koreans on average were 7 inches taller than North Koreans. Remember, 50 years ago, they were all the same height. So that's the kind of impact being malnourished during development can have. This is a typical American, typical South Korean, and a typical North Korean. This is not a particularly short guy. He's just kind of average height for North Korea. If you look at their entire armed forces, there's not a lot of variance in the height of these guys. They're all 5'3". And so they are a tiny population of people because they grow up malnourished their whole life. And after they join the armed forces, they might get a little more nutrients, but at that point they're already done growing, and so it's a rough place to grow up as far as food scarcity is concerned.